What's up, guys? Today, of course, you'll be seeing a breakdown and review of the exotic hand cannon in Destiny called Thorn. The only way to get it is by completing an exotic bounty called A Light in the Dark, and of course you can get these exotic bounties at random, though infrequently, by completing and handing in Crucible, Eris, or Vanguard bounties. And again, they're rare, but they do pop up occasionally, but the one to look for is A Light in the Dark. To complete this exotic bounty, it's multi-steps. The first is completing the Summoning Pit Strike on the moon, the Fogoth Strike. The second is by accumulating 500 points on the moon. And to do this, each normal enemy is worth a point. Every major or yellow bar is worth 20. And every boss or ultra is worth 50. So it adds up quick. The third section is going to slow you down, especially if you're a hunter. This one here requires 500 points in the Crucible with void damage. Every kill is worth 5 points, but every death you lose 2. So this is a point where you absolutely have to take your time, sit back, and definitely monitor your kill-death ratio as opposed to completely scrapping the concept and going for kills altogether. Otherwise, you actually do have to monitor your kill-death ratio here. If you're a Void-walking Warlock, this won't be too bad for you because basically, in addition to the weapons of Void you're going to be using, your specialties, your grenades, and even your melee are going to be Void buffed. Defender Titans, that helps a bit too because you've got the grenades. Those will help. If you're a Hunter, you're in trouble because you're going to need all of your weapons basically in buff, or at the very least, a Void primary. Having a Void primary is going to help you an awful lot for the other two classes as well, so I'd highly advise getting Atheon's Epilogue from the Vault of Glass, or at least trying to get it, or Word of Crota from the Crota's End Strike as primaries, because they'll exponentially speed up the kill process. You don't need them, but trust me, it'll help you out. And what I basically did is I think I took about 10 Rumble matches worth of sitting back and patrolling one area or one corner of the map and having the enemies come to me, quickly killing them with Atheon's Epilogue, and then after about close to 10 matches or so of just, I didn't care if I won or not, I basically just sat back and slaughtered enemies in a corner. Finished with a good kill-death ratio, and over the course of those matches, added up quick, bam, done. All you had to do after that, now, you'd think that'd be enough, but it's not. The next part, you go to the speaker, you get an infusion of light, then you take that to Ikora Ray, who gives you the last part of the bounty, which requires you to kill Zior the Unwed, who's a wizard in a special level 26 version of the Summoning Pit Strike. And he's located at Fogoth. So damage Fogoth, but don't kill him. And if you've played the Strike multiple times, you know there's multiple dropships that come in as you progress damaging Fogoth. He spawns in normally one of the last dropships that comes in, at least in my experience. Sometimes I've heard varying reports that he comes early, sometimes not. But don't kill Fogoth. Wait for Zior to spawn. Kill him. Return to the speaker, and you've got Thorn. Now, for the review. The gun itself starts with a 302 base damage and increases, of course, to a max of 331 when you're done with the upgrades, and you'll need Glimmer weapon parts and an exotic shard for it. The other part, whether it be like Spirit Bloom, Relic Iron, that differs per weapon possibly, so I won't disclose exactly what it is. The fire rate's 32%, it has an impact rating of 68, which is pretty good. A range of 38, a stability rating of 31, a reload percentage of 43, and a magazine size of 9, which is pretty good. It has the look of a medium-range weapon on the preliminary stats, and that's its key strength. The range for hand cannons was dropped in the 1.1.1 patch, so medium was where you should be hanging out, despite the fact that you will have a perk that can buff the range, but more on that in a minute. In terms of PvP damage output, it hits for 54 on body shots and 81 on headshots, but there's a lingering effective damage that lasts for about 3 seconds or so, and it puts out 7 damage per every half second or so for about 3 seconds. But don't quote me on that. That's an estimate or about an average, and I've found adding up and looking at multiple different instances of putting out damage that it's about that. And one thing of note, it can't stack on multiple shots, but of course, that's very damaging. With regard to the skill tree, all Thorns are the same because they're exotics. You have 3 clear options in terms of ballistics. Accurized ballistics, which increases range and impact, but also recoil. Field Choke, which does exactly the same as Accurized Ballistics, and Aggressive Ballistics, which increases impact but also reduces range and increases recoil, but also makes that recoil more controllable. And my overall average I choose for this weapon is Accurized Ballistics, but of course I haven't really experimented with the other two. I've just found great success with not tampering with what works. When breaking down the skill tree, the first important perk is Final Round, which has the last round of the magazine deal increased bonus damage. The next three perks which you'll have a choice over are Snapshot, which increases aiming speed, which is pretty helpful in some situations, Send It, which increases range and accuracy, and Perfect Balance, which increases stability. I tend to choose Perfect Balance to cut down on Thorn's on average high recoil, but if you're in situations that are prone to changing ranges, choose Send It, or if you're a very aggressive type that's going to need like continual snap to and very quick aiming, then maybe you should choose Snapshot. The key perk of the weapon is Mark of the Devourer, which has rounds pierce targets and cause lingering damage over time. This is especially amazing in the Crucible, as 3 body shots are allowed for a guaranteed kill because of that lingering damage effects. And the last 5 remaining perks are damage upgrades. With regard to my overall impressions in PvP, this weapon hits very hard per shot and also deals, of course, that lingering damage, which is quite significant, by the way. And it also prevents enemies that normally would try, like some enemies close to death will regen a bit of their health and sort of go enraged, and this will help to deal with those quite a bit. It also prevents enemies from regenning shields in Nightfalls if you hit them enough. In endgame content, this weapon can do very good and hold its own. Mark of the Devourer allows for piercing through multiple targets, so it'll even do good in mob situations. The only nitpick issue, of course, is the fact that it has a pretty lengthy reload. So managing your rounds, managing your range, and managing when and where to use the weapon, just because the fact that it's a hand cannon is something to monitor, especially if you're in longer range. You might want to switch weapons, or shorter, you might want to go to a shotgun. But that's not really a big issue with the weapon itself. So other than that, the weapon is solid. In PvP, as most people have already seen if you've been against or have it, Thorn is incredible. As stated earlier, 3 body shots plus lingering damage is a kill. It hits extremely hard and has the damage model to be used in closer range in addition to medium range. If you choose the Send It perk, you can push into longer range encounters in addition to the medium range. Equip a shotgun in short range issues and you can out-damage nearly everyone in the Crucible. Thorn is always among the most used Crucible weapon when Bungie posts weapon usage, and that's because Thorn is a legitimate monster. There's no other way of saying it. So overall, despite the massive abuse that Bungie makes you go through to get this weapon, especially if you're a hunter, trust me, Thorn rewards you nicely in both PvE and PvP. It can hold its own in all content and is especially powerful in the Crucible. If you're on the fence about Thorn or going through the incredibly long and tiresome process of bounty of getting it, go through it and do it. It's completely worth the effort. That's my review. See you later.